DHL Group is set to invest 2 billion euros in its health logistics segment by 2030, seeking to establish new pharma hubs and expand its cold chain capacity. Annette sat down with DHL Supply Chain CEO Oscar de Bock and asked him why the company is focusing specifically on pharma.
The 2 billion investment into healthcare logistics is a decision we're taking because when interacting with our customers, you clearly see that the healthcare supply chain is in transition. There's the requirements of the healthcare of the future, where you have far more patient-specific medication, where we have at the moment also a lot more clinical trials. You have biopharma. That next to the normal already high requirements on pharma logistics means that there's requirements on temperature, different temperatures. There's requirements on speed. There's requirements on quality. There's requirements on different controls. There's obviously a continuous legislation element. So it means that is a sector that is in transition in general. It's in transition from a supply chain setup perspective, and therefore also requires investments from our side to make sure that we can cope not only with the demand of the healthcare sector of today, but also the future demands of tomorrow. And there's a challenge there as well, because the question is how fast is it all needed, in which type of volumes. So agility, flexibility, and speed is required there as well.
It's interesting. I wouldn't have thought that this has direct implications as well for the supply chain management, that whole space of personalized medicine. So perhaps you could elaborate a little bit more on that. So how the future of medicine in a way as well is shaping supply chains in that space.
Well, I think we've all seen it a little bit during, well, actually very much during COVID, right? Where we suddenly all learned how a supply chain of vaccines was different, how suddenly it needed to have different temperatures, how that had all kinds of requirements that needed to be set up at pace in order to be able to get the vaccines distributed around the globe. I think we all had a fast lesson in supply chain in healthcare on that perspective. Now, if you translate that to the future, where in the past, you would have, which still today, you have a lot of medication over the counter, which you can just buy in any specialized store. Then you have your medication on prescription, which has requirements on certifications and all of that, but is less temperature sensitive than some of the medication that now, for instance, if you take the more extreme ones, cell and gene therapy, which is specific for one patient, where first the cells themselves need to travel from the patient to the laboratory, then actually be modified, and then actually get back to the patient. Now, that obviously has a very specific supply chain that is from lab, hospital, or clinic to patient, and back and forward again. And it's only that one medicine that needs to arrive at that right person at the right temperature to the right time, which is a complete different supply chain than sending in a larger volume generic medication to a pharmacy. So that pictures a little bit the difference between healthcare of tomorrow and the healthcare of today.